Softbank says this telecom unit will be the first to get chips using NVIDIA's latest Blackwell design for its supercomputer. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang holding an event in Tokyo today featuring Softbank chief Masa-san, who is pushing to expand the company's exposure to the artificial intelligence wave.
Partnering with you is incredible, and really, really happy that we're doing this. This is completely revolutionary. This is the first of its kind to transform the telecommunications network, the communications network, into an AI network.
When we return, NVIDIA and Softbank collaborating on AI. Jensen Huang and Masa-san sharing a lighthearted moment at NVIDIA's AI Summit in Tokyo earlier today.
Many of you probably don't know this, but at one point, Masa was the largest shareholder of NVIDIA. Oh. It's okay. We can cry together.
A lot of times the issue is Taiwan. And when it's such a hot button with President Xi that you say, listen, Taiwan should be fully recognized, that's what he hates. And it's interesting because Taiwan is the one that's supposed to play when we speak about Jensen Huang, because of Taiwan Semi. So we get this kind of moment where it's possible that there might be some talk between, say, Jensen and someone at the White House. Now, they did not talk with Biden. Biden did not talk to the semiconductor people. That was left to Gina Raimondo, who's Commerce Secretary. So, I mean, look, I'm not. The reason why NVIDIA is flying isn't necessarily that it's going to be China. This is this amazing Masa-san deal in Japan.
Although we mentioned yesterday this move from semis to software, and the JP Morgan long software, short semi basket's up 20% in a month.
Well, you got ServiceNow, you got Salesforce, you had Atlassian. David, there's been this move for enterprise software, which was so hated.
But I don't know what to make of it, but we're continuing to get these reports about a slowdown in the progress of generative AI, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's not just ChatGPT, now Anthropic as well reports that the next model is not nearly as powerful as they thought it would be versus the last model.
What's that based on? Have you spent a lot of time with Jensen like I have?
Well, this morning it's a 4-byline piece in Bloomberg.
Thank you.
3 of the leading AI companies are now seeing diminishing returns from their costly efforts to build newer models.
Okay, so they're about to get video. The guy who's the front runner is Mark Zuckerberg. His ads, I don't know if you've seen it. I mean, he is crushing it using the latest and greatest. These are people who basically would like to see prices lower. It's bargaining. It's the art of the deal.
Right.
It's the art of the deal.
There's the story that Carl's referencing.
They all love.
This may be a short time, a short-term snafu of some kind on the longer trajectory, or maybe it means something.
What, you've looked at Meta AI? Meta AI is going to be the largest by the end of the year.
With Llama? You mean their large language model?
Yes, and I find that I've been going to Meta for anything that is remotely cultural. Like when I hear that there's like these, like Live Nation, they have like a list of people who's coming to Brooklyn, the Paramount in Brooklyn. I've met AI to all of them.
You get up-to-the-minute information there on that?
Depends if it's not finished.
Because ChatGPT 4.0, which I was paying for, it's October of 23.
Well, I mean,
anything past then, you're out of luck.
I asked them to summarize a call last night because I didn't want to read it.
Yeah.
It said the call hadn't happened yet, so that's suboptimal.
I have not incorporated it into my workflow the way many people have, but that's on me.
This can download Moby Dick in less than a second.
I know. I remember when Jensen said that to you.
Call me Ishmael, partner.
I remember when Jensen said that to you.
Well, because he said it to me doesn't count. We have to look on these other stories.
Of course it
Maybe
counts.
Reuters says it's Tinker Toy. Remember what Jensen told me? He said, listen, it's like 5th grade. It's going to go 8th grade, and then it's going to be high school, and then David. Forget it. It's getting an advanced degree that you didn't go for.
It's moving.
Own it, don't trade it. Kind of like Masa-san. I would have told Masa-san, I think you ought to hold on to that NVIDIA.
That was cold. What we showed there, Jensen did to Masa was pretty cold, man.
Yeah. I think we have another bite. This one is talking about the SoftBank AI partnership. Am I right, Booth? Let's take a listen.
We're announcing that we're partnering with Softbank to bring and to build an AI infrastructure for Japan. Together, we're going to build Japan's largest AI factory. The NVIDIA, it's going to be built out of NVIDIA DGX. It is when it's built early this coming year, it'll have 25 AI exaflops. Just remember, the largest supercomputer in the world just recently was 1 exaflops. This is 25 exaflops for an AI factory to produce the AI.
This ties into Jensen's longstanding view that every sovereign's going to want their own basket.
And I think that's terrific. Now, the key thing people have to recognize when he talked last night for this talk, he's talking about the idea of a digital AI and then also a physical AI. And the physical AI is really interesting because what Jensen is saying that they have the best chance at developing robotics. Now, why this is interesting is there a man with 6 jobs who just got a 7th Doge who
Elon Musk, yes,
wants to do robots, but this seems to say that Japan's got the lead in robots. But you could just argue everybody's got something cooking.
We know about Japan's demographic issues, probably worse than our own.
Yeah, and they need robots in order to be able to make their country hum. I think that robots may be the solution. David will like this. I'm just going to provoke him. If there are, let's say a more aggressive policy in terms of shutting down immigrants under, say, the next president, they need these robots.
Well, there is going to be a more aggressive policy. We don't know how aggressive it's going to be in terms of the deportations. We have to see, and that could eliminate jobs that are being done now. To your point, I don't know if the robots are yet ready to replace people who are putting roofs on homes or
which also
doing agricultural jobs.
As Jensen told me, anything they can do physical. Anything we can do physical, they can do better.
Doesn't it make you wonder what kind of weaker job prints the president-elect is willing to tolerate?
Oh, boy, that is
someone
really
who's as market-focused as we believe is?
That's very interesting. I don't think he's sitting here thinking if the 10-year goes lower in yield, the market will go up. I think he's just thinking about productivity.
Right.
And the productivity from robots is incredible. And David's quite wrong. The robots, according to Jensen, will be able to do things that will shock you, and dangerous things. That's because the advancement of these, unlike what these crybabies are talking about in terms of how slow the advancement is with Jensen's
you mean beyond factory manufacturing, kind of physical labor? What are you talking about?
I think that almost all physical labor could be done by robots in 10 years.
In how many years?
10 years.
10 years. Okay.
That is going to have huge ramifications on the working class.
When Jensen told me that they can do anything, I couldn't. What are you going to say to him? Hey, you're dead wrong,
I was
partner.
promised an autonomous vehicle
4 years ago.
Yeah, and I sat here stupidly talking about 2020. We'll all be driving around.
Well, if I read one more thing about how the quid pro quo is that Doge comes in there and gets $2 billion out, and in return,
$2 trillion.
we get AI.
$2 billion.
$2 billion. You can do that, but we can write a check for that.
Yeah.
But there are many stories which just say, look, this is now that he's close to the president, he's going to get AI, and he's going to be able to do self-drive. All
right, that's Dogecoin, not the Department of Government Efficiency.
Wow, that's a good one.
Easy mistake.
Maybe they should have just invested in that.
Put up the 10-year. I want to do the 10-year versus Dogecoin because we talk about the 10-year a lot.
I'm going to get us back to stocks for a second, guys.
As big tech and AI startups in the U.S. race to get their hands on NVIDIA's long-awaited Blackwell chips, the Japanese tech conglomerate Softbank will be the first to receive them, and announced yesterday by Jensen Huang and Masayoshi Son. That's what the subject of is today for today's Tech Check. Deirdre Bosa's got that. Hey, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So Masa-san, he is never one to be left out of a major tech shift. So being first to Blackwell on stage with AI kingmaker Jensen Huang was a very on-point way for him to show the world that he hasn't lost his touch. Also raising the question, why Softbank and Masa-san and not an OpenAI or a Google who are at the forefront of LLM advancements? A source tells me it was simple. Softbank's order was early and it was large. Here's Jensen Huang himself in Tokyo overnight.
Masa is the only entrepreneur, only innovator in the world that has selected the winner and partnered with the winner in every single generation. Remember, it was Masa that brought Bill Gates to Japan. It was Masa that invented or brought Jerry Yang to Japan. It was Masa that made possible for China's cloud industry to happen, Alibaba. It was Masa that brought Steve Jobs to Japan and the iPhone. And many of you probably don't know this, but at one point, Masa was the largest shareholder of NVIDIA. Yes. Oh. It's okay. We can cry together.
I don't think Jensen is crying quite as much. It's a record from Masa-san that's also had some major misses over the years as well, like WeWork and selling his NVIDIA stake way too early. Hence, that was what that crying was about. But Masa-san, he always bets big, and now he is turning his attention to AI and what he is calling artificial superintelligence, which goes beyond AGI by surpassing human intelligence across all domains, including creativity and emotional intelligence. This slide from SoftBank's latest quarter saying that ASI will contribute to the happiness of all humanity. A very controversial and ambitious endeavor that does need the most powerful AI chips to build a supercomputer. And Masa-san, now he's betting on Blackwell to do that. For NVIDIA, it comes just as this debate is really heating up over whether AI advancements have peaked. A big deal with SoftBank lets Huang and NVIDIA diversify away from its large U.S. customers to new opportunities in sovereigns like Japan. Now, given the demand that Huang has indicated for Blackwell in recent weeks and months, it will be very interesting to hear from him on next week's earnings call on where the most opportunity is right now. Has that really shifted from mega cap tech to newer entrants like SoftBank and Japan? Guys, back to you.
All right, Malcolm, 1 week from today, we'll be talking about NVIDIA, because we haven't really talked about the mega caps all that much since the election, because many of them haven't done quite as well as a lot of the other stuff has in this market. What's the risk going in to this stock and the earnings 1 week from today as it relates to how we think about the mega caps in general?
Yes, Scott, you've asked me pretty much throughout this entire year whether I thought the mega cap tech trade was still going to be the thing to lead us higher and higher. And each time it was a resounding yes for me. And I made the case that until something meaningful happens that comes along and breaks investor psychology, that really forces us to step away from the large cap growth, from the large cap tech names, the rest of large cap growth wouldn't have their opportunity to shine. I think that the tariffs that you guys were just talking about being levied against Chinese corporations and all of the other regulations that we're hearing about coming from the incoming administration that will impact the tech sector, specifically the big tech names. I think that this might be the moment that we turn around and look back at 6 months from now, where we say that's where the mega cap tech trade was broken. I'm not exactly ready to proclaim that for sure just yet, but I definitely am getting concerned that this might be the place where mega cap tech starts to decelerate and someone else takes up the helm, maybe financials, for example.
Court, last point to you. You can react to that, right? As I said, a week from today, we're going to be consumed with NVIDIA.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest risk there is just it has such a high bar, right? I mean, that has been driving the markets. It is one of the largest parts of the S&P 500 right now. You're seeing over 30% of the S&P is just your technology companies. And I think that is the concern, is if you see this rotation or this broadening happening and other money is going elsewhere, that can bring down the overall indices. I don't think it's ending here yet, but yeah, I just don't think we want to be throwing money at it.
All right.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today. The S&P finished the day nearly flat, and NVIDIA finished the day down about 1.3%. Before I say anything else, I want to address something really quick. As was mentioned in one of the clips you just watched, SoftBank will be the first to receive shipments of NVIDIA's Blackwell chips. Recently, Microsoft posted on X saying that Microsoft Azure is the first cloud in the world to be running on NVIDIA's Blackwell platform. I perceive this as meaning that Blackwell was already shipping out to customers in volume. But after we got this news regarding SoftBank being the first company to receive Blackwell chips, I decided to look into this situation a little bit deeper. And it appears that Microsoft may just be using this particular rack for testing purposes, and SoftBank is set to receive the first shipments of NVIDIA's Blackwell chips. I want to apologize if this caused any confusion. I'm still trying to understand the situation, and I'm learning as we go. I was under the impression that Blackwell was already shipping out to customers during NVIDIA's fiscal third quarter, but now I am not so confident about that. Regardless of that, I do think NVIDIA is likely to report great numbers on November 20th. Now who knows whether or not those numbers will be enough to satisfy Wall Street's lofty expectations. But as long as NVIDIA reports great numbers and increases their forward-looking guidance, then it doesn't really matter how market participants react in the short term. From a long-term perspective, I am bullish on NVIDIA, and I genuinely would not be surprised if this company doubles over the next 2 years. Who knows what multiple the market will apply to the stock over that time. But if the underlying business grows, then the stock is of course likely to follow. The demand for NVIDIA's products is insane. The hyperscalers have yet to show any signs of reducing their capex spending on AI, and we have a clear product roadmap from NVIDIA for the next 2 years. This year we get the launch of Blackwell, then Blackwell Ultra in 2025, and later on Rubin is set to arrive in 2026. As long as everything remains peaceful in the Pacific, and as long as none of the hyperscalers significantly reduce their capex spending on AI, then I think NVIDIA should be just fine for at least the next 1 to 2 years. As for the tariff situation, I'm not really concerned about that in the grand scheme of things. The reality is that the US government, and especially Elon Musk, who will have a role in the new administration, understands the importance of NVIDIA chips and understands the importance of US companies being able to access the newest chips from NVIDIA if the US is going to be the leader in AI. With this in mind, I think the situation surrounding tariffs is just short-term noise when it comes to NVIDIA. I'm bullish on this company for the next 1 to 2 years as long as there is peace in the Pacific and as long as the hyperscalers do not significantly reduce their capex. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.